Hey guys, welcome to the show. I'm Rantoinette. Good to see you. I've got a lot of good topics to talk about today, wrap up the week, and let's just get into it. So all throughout this week and a little bit of last week, starting last Wednesday with the Liberation Day, Liquidation Day, we have seen our stock market and our economy just fall into a tailspin. It has been yet again, smile on my face, not happy at all about it. It's just batshit crazy. But it turns out, I think, that the real reason that he changed his mind on the tariffs, which, by the way, he hasn't really changed his mind on the tariffs. He just took away that whole reciprocal, not reciprocal tax, tariff tax on these other countries. It's still 10%. Everybody's still got a 10% tariff, which is going to cause inflation. But the fact that he rolled it back was enough for investors to go, oh God, the Mad King is not completely psycho. Yes, he is. He just is. And we still have a 25% tariff on our two closest trading partners, Mexico and Canada. The only one that got tariffs even more, and I made a joke about this last time, that he was going to, don't you dare I'm going to hit you with a tariff. Don't you dare do anything back or I'm going to do it again. So he hits China with a tariff. China hits them back. And then Trump goes, well, I'm going to raise it up to 104%. Then they're like, okay, our economy's not really dependent upon you as much as you are dependent upon us. So China says, okay, well, we'll reciprocate to your craziness. And then he says 125%. And my joke last week was 125, 200%, 4,000%. I've already seen it go up to 145% tariffs on China. I mean, at this point, what does it matter? Seriously, what does it matter? I mean, you are basically just doing a trade war with our biggest trade partner. China, by far, is our biggest trade partner. We get more stuff, more crap from China than we do anywhere else. And if you don't think that this is going to raise prices, oh my God, you got another thing coming, man. Not only that, but we're going to see job losses. People are stopping spending money. And when you have the stagflation and stagnant spending, people will get fired. And then it kind of, multiplies on itself. When more people get fired, that means less goods, which means prices go up. I heard Donald Trump today talk about eggs. He's like, oh, we've got so many eggs, and he brought the price of eggs down. And look, I'm not the kind of person that's going to blame one person for one particular thing. Like everybody was screaming at Joe Biden about gasoline, the price of gas going up. And I don't really think it's fair to be blaming a president for the cost of gas. Like I wouldn't blame Joe Biden or Donald Trump for the price of eggs, unless the problem continues. I mean, the reason why we had a price hike at the beginning on eggs during Joe Biden was they had a massive outbreak of bird flu. So when they have to go in and cull all those chickens, and yes, they got to cull all the chickens, or else those chickens will give all the rest of the chickens that they have that are uninfected, they'll give them the bird flu. And, it'll get worse and worse. So you have to cull them. And that means that there is less supply, more demand. That's when you go into your grocery store and you look on the shelf and there are no more eggs because there is less supply. So, and of course the cost goes up. But, he's in there talking about, he goes, I brought in some, he imported some eggs. I guess this is before, tariff day. And now, here's the really interesting thing. He did import eggs, which is something that I'm sure that any president would do. Joe Biden, if he was still president, he would do. If Kamala Harris was president, she would import eggs. And Donald Trump is importing eggs. But here's the thing. Price of eggs ain't going down. They're going up. See, this is the problem with monopoly. We only have a few companies that supply eggs. And when, the bird flu hit, the prices go up. And then, of course, they get a bailout. These big companies, they, reach out to, the government and say, hey, we're getting hit over here. Can you give us a hand? So we give them subsidies to cover for their losses. But now that the bird flu is over with, the bird flu is gone, but the prices are still high. Well, it's just those few monopolistic companies, they've just decided, hey, we've gotten them used to paying, $6, $8, $10 a dozen, depending on where you are. They're going to keep that price. They're not going to lower it. They have no incentive to do so. Now, if Donald Trump wanted to reach out to those 3, 4, 5 companies that control the United States egg supply and say, hey, cut it the fuck out. You're price gouging. Bird flu is over with, and actually used his presidential muscle to do that, great. But he's not doing that. And the price of eggs is, estimated that it's going to go up by the end of the year. It might even go up like 40, 50%. So don't count on the price of eggs or really any other goods going down. Those tariffs that are the crazy batshit tariffs, those might be gone. But the 10% on every country is still there. And the 25% on Mexico and Canada is still there. And now China is 145%, whatever. At this point, once you go over 100% tariffs, it's just pointless. It's just silliness. But here's the other side of it. And this is probably the real reason why he turned tail, where everybody says that Donald Trump blinked. Well, yeah, he blinked because what normally happens during an economic crisis is that, people run to safety. And when I say run to safety, investors usually buy up treasury bonds. That is usually a really safe bet. It's low yield, but it's backed up by American securities. And when there is an economic downturn like there was during COVID or when it was during the financial crisis back in 2008, people bought treasury bonds. That is one of the reasons why the American dollar is used for all trade throughout the planet, or 80% of all trade is made with American dollars. We are the world currency. So when countries are going through, an economic crisis or a worldwide crisis, people tend to buy American bonds because of their security. Well, unfortunately, this time it didn't happen that way. Japan decided, I don't know whether or not they decided to hit back with selling off treasury bonds, but or maybe they just absolutely had to because they're preparing for their own economic crisis. Donald Trump didn't just fuck with the American economy. He fucked with the world economy. Everybody's economy went off a cliff, from China, Japan, Canada, Mexico, United States, Brazil. Everybody's economy dipped on his silly ass, ridiculous tariff policy that was backed up by the most stupid looking equation. It's the amount of money that we spend versus the amount of money that other countries spend on buying our products, and then he divided that by the percentage of something or the other, and then he cut it in half and said, hey, ain't I a nice guy? And basically they just stole that idea from ChatGPT or Grok or something. Boy, there are no adults in the room. They're just no adults in the room. You've got, sycophants out there singing his praises. As soon as he took away the tariffs, and then the market shot up because they have, a little, economic exuberance. They're like, oh my God, he stopped doing the tariffs. But he didn't really, but he stopped doing it. Okay, so people started investing and then the market went up. But now, after a couple of days, it's starting to come back down now because a lot of countries around the world they don't think that America is a good bet anymore. Donald Trump has proven that we are not the indispensable nation. And they are looking to make other alliances with other countries. It's like that old saying, China does nothing, win. Do nothing, win. We keep, sticking our foot in our mouth, or we keep, fucking up. And China is just sitting there going, okay, well, our economy's pretty steady. We're doing okay. I'm not saying that I want China, the yen to be the world currency, but we're doing a speed run with the craziness that Donald Trump is doing. So, but it was the bonds that there was a big sell-off of treasury bonds. And whereas most of the time people buy bonds when there's an economic crisis, since we are doing this to ourselves and everybody else on the planet, they're like, maybe we don't buy U.S. Treasury bonds. Maybe it's not safe anymore. And meanwhile, earlier today, he has Charles Schwab, who, by the way, he didn't think was a real guy. He thought it was just a company, Charles Schwab. And he goes, he's a real guy. This guy, Charles Schwab, he's a real guy. He's standing right here. And he made like $2.5 billion in one day. Who are you serving, man? I watch the news media going, oh, it's the art of the deal, the art of the deal. What deal? He has not made any deals. The only thing that he's done is brought our market down considerably and brought the cost of goods up, and is going to ensure that there's going to be a lot of massive layoffs and stagflation and a recession. There was no deal. And if, the art of the deal is, oh, I screwed up, I have egg on my face. Okay, I wiped the egg off my face. Art of the deal, fucking farted the deal. Nothing was done. Donald Trump will always have 25, 30% of America wrapped around his little finger, and they will believe everything he says. And there will always be the state news media, Fox News, there to, praise him, or make excuses for him. I mean, a couple of days ago, before he removed the crazy tariffs, they were saying, oh, well, this absolutely needs to be done because this is the only way to get manufacturing here. In fact, it's actually not going to get manufacturing here. People are running. They're running away from us. America's not the bet that it used to be. And if they're going to bring manufacturing jobs back here, they're not going to bring them back here for us. They're going to have like automated factories where everything is run by a machine, and they'll have a handful of people working at those factories repairing the machines. Do you think that sweatshops are coming back from Vietnam to here? Do you think that Americans are going to be, sewing for $2 a day in a sweatshop? Or what did the Commerce Secretary said? Oh, we're bringing back jobs where Americans are going to be putting little screws in little machines. This is just psycho talk, man. You think Americans are going to do that? I heard a woman on Fox News the other day that said that manly men want manly jobs. And, these immigrants came in and took all of our manly jobs, So, we need Americans scrubbing those toilets, not immigrants. Do you really think Americans are going to be doing this? Look, the only reason why people look on factory jobs as something to be nostalgic about was the fact that factory jobs had union representation. They had health care, they had benefits, they had retirement. Those are the things that people are looking on. They could give a flying fuck if it is in a factory or not. What Americans want is a guaranteed good wage, and they want retirement and safety. And that is what factory jobs were back in the day. And, if you had a factory working parent, let's say your dad worked in a factory, and he would pull you aside and say, hey, look, I'm working my ass off. I'm breaking my back so you can have a better life, so you don't have to do this shit. So even people that had benefits and had retirement and had good wages due to their union representation, which, by the way, The factory jobs they want to bring back now, do you think they're going to be unionized? Hell no. And if it's all machine operated, ain't going to be no union representation there. Shit, man. Republicans don't give a good goddamn about giving you good union representation. They want you to work for as little as humanly possible. Republicans want to get rid of the minimum wage. They don't want to increase it. I guarantee you, minimum wage will not go up under Trump, without a doubt. I mean, it's sad that it didn't go up under Obama, and it didn't go up under Trump the first term, didn't go up under Biden because he said that the parliamentarian said we couldn't do it. You're the fucking president, man. Get it done. You know, do you want to be the world leader or not? Anyway, I digress about Joe Biden. But so it looks like the real reason why Donald Trump changed his mind on the crazy over-the-top reciprocal tariffs was because people are running away from our treasury bonds. And honestly, I think the damage is done. I don't think it's over. I think that more and more likely, all of the countries around the world are slowly starting to make deals with other countries and just avoid us because we have a mad king that does not know his ass from his elbow. And I think the world is starting to recognize that and see that America, maybe we're just not the good bet that we used to be.